Thank you, everybody. It's 6:02. Good evening and welcome to the Monday, July 1st, 2024 City Council meeting. The invocation will be given by Lori Dean Wiley, Chair of God and Sinner Committee at Truman Habitat for Humanity. Please stand for the invocation and pledge allegiance.
Dear Father, as we enter this week of celebration for the 4th of July and our country's independence, I just want to say I'm thankful. Thankful for the nation and for all those sacrifices that have been made, not only to defend our country, but to build it. Thank you for those that are here tonight representing our first responders and their families, and all those who have served and are serving. Protect those who protect us. And thank you for the opportunities and the freedoms that their protection has provided. Help each of us to not forget these blessings, nor take them for granted. Give wisdom and humility to our governing authorities. Give vision and guidance to our city leadership, that they may make the bold decisions necessary for our future. Grant to them the fear of the Lord, which is the beginning of wisdom, and to we the people, renew in us a desire to love one another because you first loved us. Thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to speak, to celebrate, and to debate in our country. And thank you for the proceedings that will happen here. Let us be kind and resilient, and let us go forth showing love. In your name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam City Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Perkins?
Here.
Councilmember Fears?
Here.
Councilmember Stewart?
Here.
Councilmember McCandless?
Here.
Councilmember Wiley?
Here.
Councilmember Vaught?
Here.
I'd like to make a motion to take the items of presentation, resolutions, and proclamations out of order, please.
So moved.
Second.
Madam City Clerk, will you present 24-736 resolution? Sorry, will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Fears?
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember, McCandless?
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Councilmember Vaught?
No. Yes.
Motion carries. Madam City Clerk.
The first item on the agenda we have is 24-736, which is a resolution recognizing Heather Binker, Staff Assistant for the City Manager's Office, as the I-Star Award recipient for July 2024.
Heather, please come forward.
Next item we have is a proclamation for our Parks and Rec Department. Whereas Parks and Recreation are an integral part of communities throughout this country, including Independence, Missouri, And whereas Parks and Recreation promote health and wellness, improving the physical and mental health of people who live near parks. And whereas Parks and Recreation promote time spent in nature, which positively impacts mental health by increasing cognitive performance, well-being, and alleviating illnesses such as depression, attention deficit disorders, and Alzheimer's. Whereas Parks and Recreation encourage physical activities by providing space for popular sports, hiking trails, classes, and many other activities designed to promote active lifestyles. And whereas Parks and Recreation are a leading provider of healthy meals, nutrition services, and education. And whereas Parks and Recreation programming and education activities such as youth sports and environmental education are critical to childhood development. And whereas Parks and Recreation increase a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas Parks and Recreation are fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community. And whereas Parks and Recreation are essential and adaptable infrastructure that makes our communities resilient in the face of natural disasters and climate change. And whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. And whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month. And whereas Independence, Missouri recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources.
Who's presenting? Morris? Perfect. I want to say thank you, everyone, for your indulgence. Let's back up just a half a minute and let's make it official for the iStar for Heather, and let's vote on that resolution. Don't believe you voted on that. So, Madam City Clerk, will you please call the roll on 74736?
Councilmember Fierce.
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins.
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart.
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless.
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley.
Yes.
Councilmember Vought.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you. So that brings us to citizens' request. Let's start with Lee Phillips, please. Can you please state your name and address?
Lee Phillips, Independence, Missouri. Honored Council, Mayor Pro Tem. Tonight you will consider my appointment to the Planning Commission. I pray that out of respect for the many citizens who are attending tonight in support of Councilwoman Vaught's appointment, and in the interest of fair and equal treatment of every citizen, that you will uphold my constitutional right to freedom of speech and allow me to complete my whole statement. I was appointed to the Planning Commission on June 11, 2024 by Councilwoman Vaught. She chose to appoint me because I am qualified, a person of integrity, honesty, truthfulness, and fairness. I am objective. I give factual information and ask thoughtful questions for understanding. There are no specific qualifications required to be appointed to the Planning Commission other than being a citizen of Independence, which I have been for 35 years, and an appointment by a sitting council member, and I am willing to serve. I have never put in an application to the city for any committee consideration until I was appointed by Councilwoman Vaught. It is Councilwoman Vaught's right to make an appointment, and she has done just that. In Article 5, Section 5.2 of the Independence Charter, titled Fair and Equal Treatment, it says, council members, board members, and employees shall give fair and equal treatment to every citizen. This statement is very specific. Freedom of speech is a principle that supports the freedom of an individual or a community to articulate their opinion and ideas without fear of retaliation, censorship, or legal sanction. The right to freedom of expression has been recognized as a human right under the United States Constitution. Definition of civil rights. A civil right is an enforceable right or privilege like freedom of speech, which, if interfered with by another, gives rise to an action for injury. I have not received fair and equal treatment during the appointment process of the City Planning Commission. On or about the 24th day of June 2024, Councilwoman Vaught and I were called into a meeting with the mayor. Both Councilwoman and I were blindsided when the meeting was unexpectedly attended by another council member and the city attorney. I was immediately uncomfortable and intimidated. I was then subjected to unfair treatment through interrogation and slander. Neither of us was informed there would be others in attendance, nor was I allowed to be represented by my own legal counsel. During the meeting, I was called a liar, which I debunked on the spot. I was told by this other council member that, quote, if I hadn't protested the Airbnb in my neighborhood, that we wouldn't be here, end quote. I took that to mean that if I had kept my mouth shut about this Airbnb, that my appointment wouldn't be an issue. My freedom of speech was threatened when I was asked this question by the mayor, quote, which is more important to you, your freedom of speech or serving your city, end quote. I then said that no one should ever be asked to choose to throw one of their children, in this case one of my rights, off a cliff, and I stated that I would give up neither. He then said that he had to give up his freedom of speech when he was elected. I was shocked because we have a constitutional First Amendment right to freedom of speech, and that I was being asked to give up my freedom of speech in order to serve on the Planning Commission was insulting. After almost 2.5 hours, I was then told that because I wouldn't choose to give up my freedom of speech, and because they believe that they have the cognitive ability to predict how I will decide, that I did not have the votes to be appointed. It became clear to me that for the mayor and this council member that my appointment was personal, and that their actions were a clear violation of Article 5, Section 5.2 of our current charter. Neither I or Councilwoman Vaught were given fair or equal treatment during this process. Today, I received a call from the mayor offering me a position on the Public Utilities Advisory Board. It was stated in our June 24th meeting by the attorney that because of my speeches in opposition to certain issues, that I am a risk. It makes little sense that if I'm not willing to give up my freedom of speech for one position, that I would not be willing to give it up in another. How can my speech disqualify me from one and not the other? The answer is that I cannot be disqualified because I have previously spoken.
You have 1 minute.
To ask me to do so is a violation of my civil rights. This offer was made to cover up the violations of my constitutional First Amendment right to freedom of speech and meant to pacify and silence me. These unethical actions taken against me as an appointee for the City Planning Commission are not only unconstitutional, but also flies in the face of the City of Independence's ordinance of fair and equal treatment to its citizens. Thank you.
Bonnie Bryant, can we keep the decorum, please, to a certain degree? I understand the enthusiasm. Just quick clap for support. Let's move on. Long meeting tonight. Bonnie Bryant.
Let me set my timer.
Yeah, Bobby Bryant. My apologies.
Yes. My name is Bobby Bryant. I've been a citizen of Independence, Missouri all my life. My kids were born here. My family moved here in the 60s, and I live in Independence over by 32nd and Lee Summit Road. What I've seen in the world today makes me think we've forgotten. We have forgotten why there is a July 4th. We've forgotten what the duties, roles, and responsibilities, not only by those governing, but by those governed, are. Right now, it's like apathy. So, our government, the people that have fought from the Revolutionary War forward to today, to maintain these freedoms, let's step back and see what these freedoms are and appreciate them. Okay? There was tyranny. There was exploitation. People were basically thrown out of countries. They shipped over here. But they decided maybe if we stand together, as I once said, we'll stand together or we'll hang, we stick together, we'll hang apart. If we stand together, then we can make a government and a country. And they put their lives on the line, and they came out on top. The underdog came out on top. They then said, we've got to organize this. We've got to put it together. We're going to put it down on paper in the Declaration of Independence, in the Constitution, and they said, we don't want to have an overseer anymore. We want to be the one speaking. So they appointed people, and they said, you'll speak for us, and we'll speak to you, and if you make a good enough argument, you would be convinced, and you could speak for us. And we're going to elect you, and we're going to show our faith in you. So that's been our government. There's another side to this. We're forgetting the important things to speak about. We're forgetting the important voice we have in voting. How many people's like, oh, I'm not registered? Okay, it's the 4th of July. Look around. Look at the world. Register. Speak. If not for you, for your children. If not for you, for your parents. But you should be doing it for you because it's for your future. We need to stand up. We need to make our feelings and our experiences known. We need some new blood. Every experience and observation adds to make us more whole. If I can come to you and say, I'm not really agreeing with what you have to say, but I have a compelling argument, will you listen? Because that's the organ that government has got to use, their ears. They need to be listening to everybody around, not just one group. And I know that it can be overwhelming, but listen. Now, everybody's got one of these, okay? You play games on it. You follow, who's with who, and all this stuff. This is a powerful tool, but we need to be using it differently. Check into the people. Check into the issues. Do your own research. Treat it like a game. One of those find the missing thing or whatever game? Treat it like a game. Man, now that you're getting informed, you might become empowered. You might become addicted to being informed. You might step up. Can you tell me that our rights and our issues that affect our communities
You have 1 minute.
are any less important than Candy Crush? Okay? So please, as a citizen, supporting my family and the family of independence, the family of the United States, speak out, research, and vote. Thank you.
Troy Baldwin. Sorry. Please come forward.
My name is Troy Baldwin. I live at 2237 Blue Ridge Boulevard. And I brought you those pictures because of the trucks that Houston Construction drives up and down the road have torn up that road. You could see all the pictures. Something needs to be done about that. And I understand that the Planning Commission is responsible for that. Is that not true?
So part of the comments is you just referring information to us. We'll get back with you afterwards. This is not a give and take situation where you ask us questions and we give you feedback. But we'll take your comments that you have and get back with you after the council meeting or tomorrow.
Okay, well, like I say, I just wanted to go across those, have you guys look at those pictures. Don't just take them and toss them. So we do need to find out when on that case there, when it's going to be done, when it's going to be started, and when it's going to end. I wish you would give me that information. Is that possible? I'm talking to everybody.
Are you referring to a particular case or?
Yes, sir.
What case are you referring to?
24045-28-2B. It's underneath the ordinances, number 1.
It's vacating the property. This is the second.
Yes,
reading.
yes,
what
that's
that is
been, there were supposed to have been houses built back there back in the 20s in the Depression time, but it's just empty land.
Correct. We'll have to get back with you and discuss this. This is the matter that is before us here on the vacating of the property. So once that is completed, we'll have more information there for you.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. David Titus.
I'm David Titus at 20800 East Truman Road. I have several topics. The first question I have is, in August of last year, it was passed that we're going to roll out Google Fiber, and I have not seen anything regarding that. Is there a status on it? Where I live, I only have one option, Comcast. AT&T won't come down. We're supposed to be rolling out Google Fiber, and it was supposed to happen after the first of the year, and I've seen nothing. So that was my first question. The second question I have is Little Blue Parkway. I ride a motorcycle, and Little Blue Parkway has been patched and patched and patched and patched, and it's not safe to ride a motorcycle on that road anymore. The bridge right there where the new units are is dangerous. I actually witnessed a rollover car the other day. It went over that bridge. When is that going to get patched and overlaid? All those buildings are up now. There's no reason why we can't get that completely overlaid. And finally, Truman Road. I know that they're replacing the gas lines or whatever they're doing on Truman Road right now. They've got half of it done, and it's patched, and it's dangerous. So I live at Truman Road and Little Blue Parkway area. I'm virtually sealed off with roads that I can't even ride my bike. So, and finally, Codes Enforcement needs to look at the gas station on Lee Summit Road, right next to Cracker Barrel. There's been a crater there for a month, or for a year now. The size that's as big as this area right here. And no one's done nothing about it, and it's gotten dangerous. I've seen cars go plowing through it. So those are the things I would like looked into.
Duly noted, Mr. Titus. We have, and we'll get back with you on that.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, could you get Mr. Titus's contact information, or could you give it to them?
It should be on, is it on the form?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
Councilman
all right,
Ryan.
thank you.
Next up, we have, and I'm going to totally butch the first name, but I know it's Mr. Breitenbach. So, Mr. Breitenbach, please come forward.
Can you skip him? He just walked up for 1 second.
For sure, we can do that. Up next is Lisa Breitenbach.
Good evening, City Council and Mr. Walker. In regards to why many of us are, I'll start over. I'm Elisa Breitenbach. I live at 1110 West Walnut Street in Independence. And I'm speaking today on why we are voting no on the charter. In regards to why many of us will be voting no on all 5 charter changes, we understand the 11-member commission put over 600 hours of combined work. Truly and honestly, I have no idea how many hours of combined work many of us have done together and apart working at our homes, and going door to door on this matter. Most people have never even heard of this. We urge all of Independence voters to please check out the videos of these 11-member commissions, because trying to understand what is being said is next to impossible because of the quality of the videos. The ballot questions do not spell out what is being taken out. The questions are vague, confusing, and misleading. There's glaring omissions of technical and significant changes being proposed on this. Citizens deserve more time to know exactly what is the intent of these changes that are being proposed. Without full transparency to let voters know what they are and what is being taken away, why raises equal questions on what is the exact intent on this, and why can't we take more time to be fully informed? Independence deserves more time to better understand what we are truly voting for. We believe voting no is the right thing to do because there's always unintended consequences. In closing, I just want to thank our council member who appointed Lee Phillips to our Planning Commission to be a voice for all of us. Thank you, Jenny Vaught. We appreciate you. And we appreciate all of you. I don't like coming up here to speak. Obviously, you can tell I'm shaking like a leaf on a tree. But honestly, I believe this with all of my heart. People deserve better. They deserve to understand what we are voting on. This is so confusing. Anyway, thank you, everybody.
Mr. Breitenbach?
Hello, everybody. Pleasure to be in front of you. My name is Marion Breitenbach, and I live in the same place that other lady lives, 1110 West Walnut. The amount of charter changes are significant. I think we can all agree on that. The people need to have time to understand what they are losing by the proposed changes to the charter. Financial controls appear to be weakened. The 20-year limit was removed on debt. The fitness and qualification requirements have been altered. Changes to the charter to move the charter language into ordinances so the council can more easily maneuver things where they want it to be rather than the people. The language is misleading and will take time for the people to fully understand how much they are losing. One meeting I attended, people were concerned and asking questions. The meeting was suspended and we were told to just vote yes or no. I do not understand the council's rush to get the questions on the August ballot. The August ballot will have 75% fewer voters than the general election. I consider the charter to be a very important document for independence, and I would think that we'd be more served by having more people vote and understand what they're voting for than to rush it through and force people to vote uninformed. I think the independence voters are concerned citizens and intelligent enough to make informed votes. There will be 5 misleading questions on the ballot, and voters should be prepared for them. I will be voting no. I hope the elected officials do not go after the citizens with opposing viewpoints. Thank you.
And last, Jeff Rogers, please.
Good evening, Council. I'm Jeff Rogers. I'm Executive Director of the nonprofit Independence Square Association, and I just wanted to update you on some things that have been happening in our historic downtown. First, rumors of the Hallmark Channel are true. Every year, we describe Living Windows on the first Friday in December as a night straight out of a Hallmark holiday movie, and this summer, we officially become the set of a Hallmark holiday movie. Yeah, it's exciting. For the last week, our lighting company, Holiday Effects, has been very busy lighting up some of our building tops, facades, trees, and poles with lights. So we're not crazy. We didn't, lose our calendar. We haven't lit the entire area, so it might look like, do you guys know what you're doing up here? We're only lighting buildings that might be in a shot or seen in a pan view during a night filming. Soon, set decorators will transform a few of the storefronts and interiors. Several hundred people will be a part of the cast and crew that will spend time in the area over the next month. Pretty exciting. While much of the filming will be a closed set, meaning we won't be able to see what's going on, it'll be happening inside stores and homes in the area. There will be some outdoor scenes and night shoots. We ask for patience with periodic street closings, store closings, and maybe sidewalk detours during that time. We know that there will be some people who want to try and watch, and we ask you be respectful of requests to stay in designated areas and out of camera angles, or not distract actors and crew. I know a lot of people locally who've applied to be extras, so that process is out there. We encourage you to be a part of it if you're able. The economic impact comes in a variety of ways. We've already seen dozens of crew members in the advanced team getting their morning caffeine fixes at our coffee shops and grabbing lunch throughout the district. That impact will only increase throughout the month. The movie will be released as part of this year's Hallmark holiday movies, which is kind of amazing. So, be watching this November, December. Will be on display. And it will be mentioned that this is Independence, Missouri. So we're not just a set, we're a city that'll be on display, which is very exciting. Many people will want to come and walk the set of a Hallmark movie, and we're taking note of all the decor that the set decorators add. We'll try to replicate as much as our budget will allow. So if it doesn't look exactly that way, we don't quite have the same types of funds. We'll also use this moment to market regionally to the film tourism community. If you've watched TV, especially the Hallmark Channel lately, you'll probably have seen that Hallmark's introducing the Hallmark Christmas Experience this Christmas season from November 29th through the 23rd. They're going to have the Mayor's Christmas tree that will be lit nightly on every weekend. They'll have actors from the Hallmark movies doing those lightings. There will be outdoor Christmas markets and photo ops, the opportunity to meet with actors. Hotels are already sold out for many of those evenings. And for several weekends, the top tier tickets, which are $699 a piece, not cheap, they're sold out for all but the last weekend already, which talks about the number of people wanting to come and experience something like this, and we're not letting that go unnoticed. We'll be trying to capitalize on those same visitors, reaching out, letting them know that we are the place where Holiday Touchdown was partially filmed. So we want to make sure they know that and are able to visit us. This movie will keep giving as it becomes part of the annual movies that are shown yearly on the Hallmark Channel. So we're excited about that. So I wanted to keep you up to date about that. In other news, we just finished our second annual Pop Fest this last weekend, brought out many families, several thousand people were in attendance with suds pits and carnival games and food trucks and vendors and live music. Most of that was available to do for at no charge. We had the operating line of Polly's Pop available to be visited as they celebrate adding 4 new diet flavors to their lineup and introduce flavored waters under the new Pioneer Springs label. We also hired a media company to come and shoot during that time period. As I was getting ready to get up, we got a note that they're going to be sending 250 new photos for us to add to our database. We've got a lot of film that'll be added to our database, so we'll be able to do new advertising, new marketing for the area, and we're looking forward to that too. So some pretty cool things as we start to add billboards and commercials about our historic area. Moonlight Movies does continue. I know that's been a kind of a shocking scene as we watched the stucco on the Faro Theater wall come down. We had hoped that was going to be a minor repair job, and as they started to take that down. We've all done home repairs where you think it's going to be one thing and then it becomes another. That's what happened there. But we're still doing all the outdoor activities that begin early, and then when movie time comes, everybody gets to go inside and watch the movie for the evening. Independence Animal Services has also been coming to Moonlight Movies every week, and they also came to Pop Fest. And we understand that last week, 2 dogs were adopted out during Moonlight Movies and 3 more during Pop Fest. So we're really excited that last week we were able to help 5 dogs find new homes. We're going to continue to partner with them on a weekly basis to make sure that adoptable animals become more visible to our community. Finally, we're working with the Mid-Continent Public Library to bring the Reading Rocket mobile library to the square. So soon we're going to announce where they will be on a weekly basis for story times and other fun reading activities. I know that's a lot of information. Just wanted you to know what was going on. For specific information, we've got a ton of Christmas in July things besides the movie shoot for people to come up and do. You can find out all the details at our website, which is indepsquare.com. So INDEP square.com. We've had some people going to our previous website. We had that maliciously taken over and we've abandoned it. So if you go there, that you'll only see activities from like 2019 and before. It's not that we're not trying to update it. We just don't want to go back into that site because we know that some Trojan vehicles have been put in, so we don't want to have any of our computers affected. So indepsquare.com is our current website. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeff. So that brings us to our consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, Pro Tem,
Councilman Fierce.
move to approve the report and recommendations of the city manager.
Second.
It's been seconded. Madam City Clerk, will you please call the roll, or, I'm sorry,
Items
if there are any council members wishing to pull the items for separate consideration.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Councilman Stewart.
can you please pull item number 4, item number 24738, and item number 24739?
Item number 4, sorry. Your next item?
24738 and 24739.
Is there any other to be pulled for consideration? Madam City Clerk, will you please call the roll on the remaining items?
Councilmember Fierce?
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless?
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Councilmember Vought?
Yes.
They move forward. They've all passed. Councilman Stewart, number 4, please.
I'll make a motion for approval on item number 4.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Madam City Clerk, or is there any discussion on this item, please? Hearing none, Madam City Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Well,
Oh.
yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. I thought we were gonna, never mind. There's discussion, I'm sorry. I got confused for a second. Mr. City Manager, how many current waste hauler, trash collector hauler licenses do we have in the city?
8.
8?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm going, with all the discussion we had recently, with all the trucks that we had, and all the damage it does to the streets, I'm gonna be voting no on this. That and the fact that I believe that this company has been operating without a license, would that be correct?
Yes, they started business practices and independence prior to obtaining a business license in violation of our code.
Okay, so I'm going to be voting no on this. But in addition to that, I'd like to actually cap the number of trash haulers we have in the city, so to 8. Could you prepare a resolution for a study session in doing that? like we did this city?
I
Okay.
can, yes, sir.
And that's all I have, thank you.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Councilman?
Mr. City Manager, just a question. If I'm correct, the staff is recommending not to approve this, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
And just as additional information for the council, primary among those concerns are what Councilmember Stewart mentioned. Our research shows that industry best practices for waste hauling is to have one practitioner for every 1,500 residents. Currently in Independence, with the number we have licensed, we have one for every 500 residents. So if it feels like there's a trash truck on your street every day, that's because there is.
And that area where they wanted to locate is also like in the floodplain and some other issues of that nature, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I think inevitably, by the nature of the job, there are byproducts of waste in a trash truck. Some of the concerns we have is that area is located in the floodplain and within the stream buffer because of the creek that runs through that area.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, Madam City Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Fears?
No?
Councilmember Perkins?
No.
Councilmember Stewart?
No.
Councilmember McCandless?
No.
Councilmember Wiley?
No.
Councilmember Vought?
No.
Motion fails, or the action fails. Councilman Stewart, 24-738.
Make a motion for approval on 24-738.
Second.
Madam City Clerk, call the roll, please.
No, discussion.
Oh, discussion.
There really is discussion this time. So this is regarding Councilmember Vaught's appointment to the Planning Commission. So in the 4 years that I've been on this city council, a little over 4 years, I've never really seen any controversy for any nomination of anybody going on a committee. It is true, this nominee has been pretty vocal on some issues, and some of it I disagree with her on. But the simple fact of the matter is, it is her right to do that. It is her right to, I think, she's been vocal in some politics going on in the election. That's her First Amendment right, granted to her, by the Constitution and being a citizen of this country. She might have some conflicts going on in the committee. I don't think it's anything she couldn't abstain from if she chose to, and it was determined she had a conflict. The outgoing member of this committee abstained many times when she had conflicts over the last 8 years, if something she felt like she couldn't vote on. So I'm going to support this nomination, and that's about all I have. So thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, Madam City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Fears?
No?
Councilmember Perkins?
No.
Councilmember Stewart? Yes. Councilmember McCandless?
No.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Councilmember Vought?
Yes.
That's a 3-3. Motion fails. Councilman Stewart, 24-739.
Make a motion to approve 24-739.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Discussion, please.
Trying to see, it says that this is a resolution for establishing the standards for recruitment of the selection of board members, and it shows that the resolution was amended on 6/21/24, so my question is, Mr. City Manager, was it posted and then amended after it was posted?
May need to default to the city clerk. I don't have any recollection of that occurring. I personally don't recall any amendments to that. I think what I heard the clerk say, she'd have to double check if that was, but I'm not aware of any amendments that were made to that, sir.
Okay, I'm reading off the page. It says it was amended 6/21/24, which would have, if it was indeed, it would have been after it was posted.
Right.
What I'm curious about, what was amended, because I don't have the original one. And there's some things in here that I really don't like, and I think we need to discuss further. So I'm going to make a motion that we send this to a study session.
I second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion to send it to a study session? Oh, yes, Madam City Clerk, please.
Sorry, if I could just add something. This is a resolution amending the boards and commissions requirements. I think what we added was an attendance policy onto it,
Yeah.
But not after it was posted.
not after it was posted.
Right.
Correct.
Okay. Well, thank you for the clarification. My motion still stands, though. There's some things I don't like in here that I think the city council, and there might be some other questions as well, that I think we should discuss in a study session.
Any further discussion on the motion to postpone?
So, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I'm not sure how I feel about the motion to postpone as much as I was going to make an amendment to this. So I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and pass out the amendment so that people will have that, so that at the time in which we discuss it at a study session, everybody will have that, and we can maybe talk about that as well, assuming this motion to postpone passes, if that's okay.
That'd be fine. So,
Well, I don't think, it's not, maybe I should ask Mr. Cover. Mr. Cover, it wouldn't be in order to move to amend the motion at this point, is that correct?
That would be correct.
Okay.
Madam City Clerk, will you please call the roll on the motion to postpone for study session?
Councilmember Fears?
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless?
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Councilmember Vaught?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, could the council advise, would you like this added to the study session coming up on the 8th, or is it fine to carry that forward to the July 22nd study session?
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. I'll defer to you, Councilman Stewart, on.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Would you prefer this be added to Monday night study session or wait till July 22nd?
Can we wait until July 22nd?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Does that help, Mr. City Manager?
It does. Thank you.
Great.
Before we vote, the 22nd, I think, is going to be a really full agenda. Is that correct? 'Cause that's charter again.
The 22nd, we have a review presentation for both of the two ballot issues, as well as the Staywell Health Insurance Committee making their recommendations on employee health insurance renewals.
So that's an incredibly packed agenda. I wonder if we could reconsider for the 8th. And the question is, do you have enough time to be prepared for the 8th?
Yes, we could be ready for the 8th. So just, again, the pleasure of the council.
That would be my preference, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I don't have an issue with that. I was just saying the 22nd because I wanted to make sure you had time, but I'm fine with the 8th.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Sorry. I was distracted. Mr. Stewart.
I don't have a problem with the 8th.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll move to the 8th then. Okay, so that brings us to.
Do we need to vote on the amendment for the 8th, or did we already do that? Oh, sorry.
Mr. Cover, do we need to vote on the moving it to the 8th, or just, okay,
No,
thank you.
Consensus is fine, thank you.
Thank you. So that brings us to our second readings. Excuse me. That brings us to our public hearings. We will call this public hearing for new information only.
A public hearing for the application to rezone the property at 304 South Liberty Street from C2 General Commercial to R30/PUD High Density Residential / Planned Unit Development. New information only.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Temp and members of the council. My name is Rick Arroyo. I'm the Assistant Community Development Director here at the city. This planned unit development rezoning was considered by Planning Commission on May 14th of this year. Planning Commission did vote in favor of this rezoning. The applicant purchases vacant and vandalized property at 304 South Liberty Street for the intent of rehabbing it into a 3-unit residential structure. Due to the lot size, and in order to get the 3 units in there, it would require an R30 PUD zoning. Structure is currently under a dangerous building case and would need to follow the dangerous building code requirements to allow its rehabilitation. I have no new information to provide.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. Madam City Clerk, please read 24044, second reading.
24-044, second reading, an ordinance approving a rezoning from District C2 General Commercial to District R30/PUD High Density Residential / Planned Unit Development, and approving a preliminary development plan for the property located at 304 South Liberty Street. Second reading.
Is there any discussion? I don't hear any discussion, but I will make it just quick remark. This is in the first district. I have not received any comments or any letters of concern to the office regarding this rezoning. So, Madam City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Fears?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Perkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless?
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Councilmember Vought?
Yes.
Second reading passes. This brings us to our second reading on our ordinances. Madam City Clerk.
24-045, second reading, an ordinance vacating all that part of Blue Ridge Terrace, an existing unimproved 40-foot right-of-way located within the bounds of Blue Ridge Orchard, a subdivision in Independence, Jackson County, Missouri. Second reading.
Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Councilman Fierce,
if I could address City Manager.
please.
Mr. City Manager, the question I have on this, comments by gentlemen earlier, and a discussion I had with folks after meeting a couple of weeks ago. My question really here is, does the vacating of this change the use of the property, or does it increase the potential for anything further development, further activity to happen on that particular part that we would be vacating?
In short, no. So the land will stay zoned the way it already is, which means the use will continue to be the same. So any of the permitted allowable uses under that zoning would continue. Any construction, of course, would have to follow the city's building permit requirements. But when we are vacating right-of-way, it's because the city at one time acquired land for a project. The project's now complete, and there's surplus of land that we no longer need, so we turn that back over to the property owner, adjacent property owner, so we don't have to maintain it.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Fears?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Perkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless?
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Councilmember Vought?
Yes.
Ordinance passes. Madam City Clerk, will you please read 24046?
24-046, second reading, an ordinance vacating an existing unimproved right-of-way of all that part of South Main Street as dedicated in Martha's Vineyard, a subdivision in Independence, Jackson County, Missouri, also vacating an existing utility easement of all that part of a vacated alley in Martha's Vineyard, a subdivision in Independence, Jackson County, Missouri. Second reading.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam City Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Fears?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Perkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless?
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Councilmember Vought?
Yes.
Ordinance passes. That brings us to 24048. Madam City Clerk, please. Seven. Thank you.
24-047, second reading, an ordinance adopting amendments to the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget, which was approved by ordinance number 19453, second reading.
Any discussion on this? Hearing none. Madam City Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Fears?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Perkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless?
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Councilmember Vought?
Yes.
Ordinance passes. Brings us to 24048.
24-048, a second reading, an ordinance amending Article 22 of Chapter 1 of the City Code by deleting Section 1.22.004 and enacting in lieu thereof a new Section 1.22.004, changing the required age of the municipal judge. Second reading.
Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Councilman McCandless,
to inquire the city manager.
please.
Mr. City Manager, this update is required by state law, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And I know we had comments earlier about the charter. A number of the updates we have are to be in compliance with city law. Easier to do so in ordinance than changing the charter.
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Madam City Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Fears?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Perkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless?
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Councilmember Vought?
Yes.
Ordinance passes. That brings us to 24043, second reading.
24-043, second reading, an ordinance amending Article 3 of Chapter 5 of the City Code by enacting new sections to revise and clarify the requirements for extended stay hotels. Second reading.
Is there any discussion?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Councilman Fears.
We, just for the council's benefit, council member McCandless and I met with a representation of the hotel owners in the area, and we asked city staff to take a look at this and make some relatively minor revisions in our opinion, but it does help them a little bit, but also keeps things in line with what we're trying to do for the hotels to encourage them to maintain their property better and do some other things relative to their properties, and so that's what this is about.
Thank you. Anybody else for discussion?
I do understand that we have an upcoming meeting, and so I'd like to request that we postpone this for an additional 60 days until we can make sure that gets addressed, and then bring that back for discussion.
I second.
We have a motion and a second on a delay for 60 days. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, will you please call the roll on the motion for delay?
Councilmember Fears?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Perkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember McCandless?
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Councilmember Vought?
Yes.
Motion carries. We'll postpone for 60 days. That brings us to first readings, 24049. Madam City Clerk, please.
24049, first reading, an ordinance authorizing acceptance of a grant in the amount of $1,021,000 from the Missouri Department of Transportation for reimbursement for DRE conference fees and overtime programs for the Police Department for impaired driving enforcement and youth alcohol liquor compliance checks from October 1st, 2024 to September 30th, 2025. Authorizing future change orders and/or time extensions for the same project and making the necessary appropriations. First reading. 24-050, first reading. Excuse me. An ordinance authorizing acceptance of a grant in the amount of $485,250 from the Missouri Department of Transportation for reimbursement for the LETSAC conference fees and overtime program for hazardous moving violations enforcement from October 1st, 2024 to September 30th, 2025, authorizing future change orders, extensions, amendments, or addendums for additional funding for the same project and making the necessary appropriations. First reading. 24-051, first reading, an ordinance finding, determining, and declaring the necessity of acquiring right-of-way and temporary construction easements for the Truman Connected Phase 1 project, project number 112102, authorizing the negotiation and eminent domain proceedings if necessary, approving the plans and specifications for the project, authorizing the use of experts as needed, authorizing and directing the execution of documents and the payments of funds to property owners or others holding property rights in conjunction with the project. First reading. 24-052, first reading. An ordinance authorizing a contract with the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services to provide financial assistance for the Public Health Emergency Preparedness Grant Program for the period of July 1, 2024 through July 30th, 2025, accepting funds for the period in the amount of $125,685, authorizing future change orders for additional funding and/or time extensions for the same project, and authorizing certain future appropriations. First reading. 24-053, first reading, an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of funding from the U.S. Department of Justice, Bureau of Justice Assistance, Office of Justice Programs Fiscal Year 2023 Burn Justice Assistance Grant, JAG program, through a memorandum of understanding with Jackson County, Missouri, which allocates $62,360 to the City of Independence, Missouri for the Police Department's use, appropriating the necessary funds and authorizing future change orders and appropriations for the same project. First reading. 24-054, first reading, an ordinance authorizing acceptance of a grant in the amount of $76,250 from the Missouri Department of Transportation for reimbursement of overtime for occupant protection enforcement programs from October 1, 2024 to September 30th, 2025, authorizing future change orders, extensions, amendments, or addendums for additional funding for the same project and making the necessary appropriations. First reading. 24-055, first reading, an ordinance finding, determining, and declaring the necessity of acquiring general utility easements and temporary construction easements for the 24 Highway Improvement Steel Pole Installation Project, project number 500000835, authorizing the negotiation and eminent domain proceedings if necessary, approving the plans and specifications for the project, authorizing the use of experts as needed, authorizing and directing the execution of documents and the payment of funds to property owners or others holding property rights in conjunction with the project. First reading. 24-056, first reading, an ordinance authorizing the city manager to execute a certain grant agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for the Truman Connected Phase 2 project, city project number 112102, /federal project number CMAQ 3379, parentheses 441, and CRP 3379, parentheses 446. First reading. 24-057, first reading, an ordinance authorizing the execution of a change order to the construction contract C 500000804 and design contract PO 24000282 for the Truman Depot and Pacific Trail Project number 511702 and making necessary appropriations. First reading. 24-058, first reading, an ordinance finding, determining, and declaring the necessity of acquiring right-of-way general utility easements and temporary construction easements for the Truman Depot renovations and Pacific Trail Project number 511702, authorizing the negotiation and eminent domain proceedings if necessary, approving the plans and specifications for the project, authorizing the use of experts as needed, authorizing and directing the execution of documents and the payment of funds to property owners or others holding property rights in conjunction with the project. First reading. 24-059, first reading, an ordinance vacating an existing right-of-way of all that part of the southeast quarter of Section 3, Township 49, North Range 32 West, located in Independence, Jackson County, Missouri. First reading. 24-060, first reading, an ordinance authorizing final disposition of certain city records that have met all requirements to be eligible for such disposition. First reading. 24-061, first reading, an ordinance amending Article 6 of Chapter 8 of the City Code, changing the procurement policy to align with revised statutes of Missouri, RSMO Chapter 34, first reading. 24-062, first reading, an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2024-25 submitted budget by reducing the museum fundraising account in the tourism fund by $150,000, first reading. 24-063, first reading, an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2024-25 submitted budget by increasing the communications department account in the general fund by $130,000, first reading.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Well, that was a lot of first reading. Haven't done that in a while. Good job. Well, that brings us to council member comments. I'll start with Councilman Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. So I know the citizen speaker earlier mentioned Google Fiber. And to my recollection, I think we approved it in August of 2023. I think they said they were going to start work in maybe the third quarter of 2024, and some people may see availability at the end of 2024. Is that correct, Mr. City Manager? And do you have any update to that at all?
Yeah, I'd be happy to provide the information we have. We did have a call with the governmental affairs representative from Google Fiber last week. They have, for lack of a better term, dropped their pin into the city that's located in the area of Nolan Road in Aberdeen, just south of 23rd Street, relatively close to McDonald's as a landmark. Google Fiber tends to build in what they call a contiguous manner. That doesn't necessarily mean that they'll do the same here, but that they'll start relatively close to that area and then build out from there. Now, whether that heads east or west, north or south, we don't know, and I don't know that they fully know yet, but that gives you a generalized idea. They located close to where the council and the charter has marked the boundaries of the council districts, and we'll start building out from that area.
Have they given you any idea of how long the total project will take?
We don't have a firm timeline on that yet. But we do know they're coming because they have dropped infrastructure at that area that I've mentioned as kind of the hub, and they will build out from that site.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Fierce.
Well, continuing on with comments from the related to citizen comments, because that was one, the Google Fiber was one that I was going to bring up. You know, a lot of discussion was had relative to the city charter and changes that we are proposing to the city charter that were proposed by the Charter Review Commission. I think what I would really want to just say there is that there is detail available. It's available online. It's available here at City Hall. I'm not saying it's not cumbersome to read through, but you know, when you make the volume of changes that we're proposing, taking it from essentially 60 pages down to 30 pages, that is significant, and so it's hard to get that all boiled down into, you know, 5 paragraph questions to go on a ballot. And so that's what we're dealing with relative to that. But in that regard, because the information is available out there, there's also a fair amount of misinformation, I believe, out there. And so, you know, I just encourage our citizens when it comes time to vote to be educated and informed voters, and go out and do your research and look at what is being proposed. I also want to encourage folks to look at the police question that we will be looking at in August, because that is also a very important question for independents. My next item is relative to the master developer. Last week at the study session, we had a great presentation by the master developer. It was a little maybe lengthy in some regards, but the information there was really important. And I think if you take a look at some of the plans and some of the ideas that are proposed for the square area, boy, if even, half of that happens, it'll make a huge difference in the square area. And so, if you have a chance, please go and take a look. That is also available on the city website. And lastly, we have this thing coming up this week called 4th of July celebration. I encourage our citizens to buy their fireworks from the nonprofit tents here in Independence. Helps make a big difference to the nonprofits in our community. And I won't tell you which one I'm involved with, so I don't want to do that. But I do want to say that that's really important to do that. But in that same regard, please be safe when you're shooting off your fireworks. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Councilwoman Vaughn?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I just want to say, after tonight, that why I chose Ms. Phillips for the Planning and Zoning Commission is because she's qualified. It doesn't matter at this point, but she is committed to learning. She excels at research. She's very detail-oriented, and she deserved a spot on this committee just as much as anyone else who's there. I referred to the charter and found nothing that would disqualify her or cause concern of conflict of interest. It seems that the issue may have stemmed from differing opinions, which is healthy for discussion. I ran for office to serve my community. I was elected to represent the people, and my appointment of Mrs. Phillips reflects that commitment. However, this situation, as of recently, has hampered my ability to effectively fulfill those duties, and that's a shame.
Thank you. Councilwoman
Thank you.
Wiley.
I have more good news for you. The pothole that you were talking about is being filled. It is on private property, but I had a constituent reach out about it, and we were able to contact the owner with help from the city staff. And I think it'll be filled sometime next week. I want to say thank you to Milton Estates, who had a homeowner meeting and invited me to speak. And also Canterbury Trails, same thing, homeowner meeting, was invited to speak. I'm very excited about being able to observe these neighborhoods who are so organized. It was really exciting, and I was thrilled to be part of that. I am going door to door in support of Proposition PD on the weekends, and I've had some great conversations with constituents, some hard discussions, some good discussion, a mix of mostly positive. And I want to thank Detective Winborn and Officer Brian Conley for escorting me. It's been really hot, and it's hard, but it's worth it. So I want to thank the members of the FOP who are supporting me on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman McCandless.
Thank you. To respond to the second speaker, just to remember, voter registration is still available up until July 10th if you have that opportunity. The second thing to talk about with that upcoming ballot, Jackson County prosecutor candidates are going to be available on July 8th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Innovation Center in Lee Summit. They're going to be taking questions and they're going to meet and greet. So it's such an important role for us. I have gone out of my way to meet with as many of them as I can, and I just think that that's a really important choice if you have the chance to come to that. The second is, it is sign season, which more than flowers, we see roadside little signs being planted everywhere. And just to remember that you can't put those in right-of-ways, on public parks, in public street spaces. So if those are found there, city staff, if they're nearby, will pick them up and take them home. So don't waste your money putting signs where you're not allowed to. And that's window washing signs, or we buy ugly houses, or political signs, all the same. And then, Mr. City Manager, I know that we are going to have a study session on the 22nd. People can submit questions in advance regarding the charter for clarification or questions they don't understand, where should they submit those questions?
They should email citycharter@indepmo.org. So same last part of an email address of everybody here at the city, but citycharter@indepmo.org.
Okay. And my last thing is that our fire chief, Walker, has joined the city. He's not here tonight, but we'll be delighted to welcome him when he comes next time. And a total shout out to the fire department. The Fire Fest was fabulous. If you got to go, it was just a delight. People got rides on fire trucks. We watched them put out a flaming car. The bomb squad was there. I mean, it was just wonderful. And the next one will be June 21st of 2025. So mark your calendars in advance so that you've got that to come and play with us in the future. And Councilmember Perkins and I both attended the National Parks Visitation Planning Session. We're going to have a new visitation center for the Truman Home. It'll be across the street, and I think it will be delightful. They don't have timelines because, you know, federal government doesn't give you tight timelines, but it's nice that they're asking community what it is that they're looking for in design. So, very good. Thank you.
Thank you. So that brings it to me. So first I want to say thank you for the grace. It's always different when you're in the hot seat and run a meeting when you're not normally used to. So I have to be a little bit more on point than normal. So thank you for the grace with that. I did have a few things that I was wanting to bring up to date with the community. There's been a lot of things that has taken place over the past couple weeks that has really culminated into some really good success, some milestones that I just want to bring to attention. Things move sometimes super slow. It goes really fast. So I just want to bring everything to a good, slow momentum and point. All the items and projects that I'm going to speak about tonight, and the council, please indulge me, maybe 5-6 minutes, is work that has been done within our community through neighborhood partners, businesses, neighborhoods, civics groups, the council, the city manager's office. This is just accumulation of everybody working together. So thank you very much. I'm just fortunate and lucky to be able to brag a little bit about it. Third Friday Art Walk was June 21st. It's Inglewood's Third Friday Art Walk is something that do monthly. It's a great event. It is something to come out and enjoy the neighborhood and community. What made this a little different, a little bit special than the other ones, is this was the inaugural artists and residents exhibits. So we've been able to have Inglewood art fully open, fully exposed, fully working as it was intended to bring artists not only from around the city, around the region, but we have an international reach. So last Third Friday Art Walk, we were able to see the exhibits and the work from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 individuals, and it was a beautiful work. The opening statements and opening remarks from Terry Snapp, who's the president of Inglewood Arts Board of Directors, said it best. This dream has finally become a reality. Having that building transformed into what it is now is finally a dream that has turned into reality. You may have noticed last Friday the Inglewood sign that was placed at Winter and Sterling. This is another neighborhood and business district dream come alive. This is something that has been discussed and talked about ever since I started on the city council. A lot of people may not think, hey, it's just a sign, big deal. The big deal is this. This sign was given to the Inglewood Business Association years ago. It was the old Glenwood Theater sign, if you guys remember that. And it's always been the dream to get it refurbished and put as the Inglewood sign, so as you come into Inglewood, it is a sense of place and arrival. And the tools that was able to help make that happen was the Community Improvement District, which has been established for several years now. And that is where the neighborhood comes together, forms a business district, and is able to take in 1% sales tax and is able to help do different things within the area. And this is one of the visions that was done to help bring the Inglewood sign together. Amy Jacobson, she and her team helped fabricate that. I would say Amy is probably one of the leading artists in metal and still working in this country. We are super fortunate to have her. We are super fortunate not only to have her live and work in Inglewood. Her and her husband took a derelict building off of Winter Road and has turned that into her living space and her artist space. So thank you for that. The Community Improvement District there in Inglewood is still going forward. It is working to contribute to traffic calming, aesthetics, and other business improvements. Last week, the city manager and I, we had a meeting with a bunch of Inglewood folks. The conversation there is the Inglewood Theater. That has now changed hands to a new owner. And we are now moving and working to form a group, or a group has been formed. It's called Friends of Inglewood Theater. We have now formally formed, and our next meeting is July 23rd, 4 o'clock, Inglewood Arts. And this is going to be another brainstorming session where we can discuss and talk about different ideas that we can work with that theater. How can we purchase it? How can we work it? How can we program it to make another benefit to the community? And that is done by the people who live and work in the neighborhoods, in the business district. This is everyone, again, pulling together and working with the success that Inglewood has done over the past few years. Grants. You may have heard with News Media Blitz late last Friday, about a new grant that has been awarded to Inglewood area Northwest Independence. It is the RAISE grant, and that has been awarded to the City of Independence for $7.3 million. That is to work with and in conjunction with the Winter Road Complete Streets, the Surface Transportation Block Grant Program. And not to get it confused, the Surface Transportation Block Grant Program is now underway. That is about $5.5 million. That starts at 24 Highway and River Road, and it goes just before you get to the Art District on Winter. The RAISE grant is an extension of that, to where we are able to work on the roundabout to help bring traffic calming, to help bring pedestrian safety, and also to have a good bookend on the opposite side of Winter as you're coming into the business district of Inglewood. This is something that the city has worked with for years to try to work with, put in the applications, to do the letters of support from the community, from the businesses, and for the neighborhoods. So that is a long time coming. We finally got it. So the next steps will be coming soon, and we'll give updates with that. The Surface Transportation Block Grant, we've had one community engagement already at Van Horn High School. One of the significance of this grant also is the major improvement that will be done at 24 Highway in Winter. This is over there by Van Horn High School for pedestrian safety, for the student safety, and also brings into a place of arrival once you start moving into Maywood. So things are moving, things are happening. The next is the 24 Highway Complete Streets program. 24 Highway is moving along perfectly. The construction, thank you everyone for their patience as we move forward with that. But more importantly, we were notified last week that the 24 Highway CID has been voted on by the property owners within the district. They approved it unanimously by a supermajority, which would now allow to have 1% tax collection from Wilson Road to River, which will give extra enhancements and extra complementary work, aesthetics, land acquisitions to help make 24 Highway and Western Independence together. Again, that was done because of the grassroots organizations there, the strong neighborhood support that is around there, and also by our civic leadership. I was going to talk a little bit about Independence Square and the hallmark. Jeff, you did a great job. There's nothing to add there. There's just a lot of good excitement. All of this has been created by the neighborhoods, business associations, civic leaders. So thank you very much for your hard work. I just wanted to put a little bit of a bow on some of the exciting things that are taking place. Western Independence is going to look completely different in the next 4 to 5 years as we get this construction going. So thank you for your indulgence. Any questions, please email me. Please give me conversations. We would love to have it. Mr. City Manager, do you have anything tonight before we wrap up?
I'm going to just make one quick comment. Want to let the council know, about a month ago, you all approved the new collective bargaining agreement with the Fraternal Order of Police. That did include a adjustment to the wage table so that we could remain competitive with Kansas City, Missouri Police Department, and what certainly would have been adjustments that are coming from other metro police agencies as well. Was able to visit with the police chief on Friday about this. I am pleased to report that since your approval of that, one, we have not lost any of our personnel to any other law enforcement agencies, so we drew the red line there. More importantly, we have already attracted 4 certified officers to come to work for Independence, so they are able to hit the streets and work for our citizens right away, and a detention officer as well. So thank you, council, for your support of that. I want to publicly recognize the chief and his leadership team that are helping build a culture that makes people want to come there, but certainly, while talk is important, we all know money really talks louder. So want to let you all know the results of your efforts. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the update. Appreciate that. And with that, we will conclude this meeting.